Tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, presented by CW Motorsports, episode 118. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And it is a snowy, cold, miserable January day out there.
Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is in the great north where you are, but I woke up this morning to like 9 degrees.
On the way into church this morning, it was a balmy 5.
Yeah, so, yeah, heat wave up there, huh?
Practically, yeah. No,
Yeah,
it is a good day to be inside recording a podcast and not outside doing anything. I know there's guys out there that like to run the sleds and they like to UTV in the snow, and that's all fine and dandy.
Yeah, but UTV in the snow when it's, 25 or 30 isn't bad. When it's 5, it's cold.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you've got a full enclosed setup, like you're out in a Ranger or something that's got a heated cab, then maybe that's one thing, but...
Yeah, being in the open air, not so good.
No.
Yeah. So what's been new with you?
Well, not a ton. Just gearing up for it. We're actually going to Hawaii here, my wife and I. We leave next Saturday.
Yeah, for work, right?
Yeah, for work.
You are going for work, right?
I am. I actually have to... We fly out Saturday, get there Saturday night, and then we got Sunday to kind of adjust to the 5-hour time zone difference, and then I've got to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with the basically half of a project that we're working on is with the University of Hawaii. So this time we're going out to see them. In the summer they'll come over here to the Midwest to visit us, and then took a couple extra days, and Jenny's going with me, so we'll have a couple days to explore, but not a ton of time. But
because it would probably kill the people from Hawaii if they jumped off the plane and got out in 5-degree weather.
It's easier going the other way, I'll put it that way. Going from 5 degrees to 80 degrees has got to be easier than the other.
Yeah. Now, see, you do pretty well about being able to stay up later and everything, but your wife goes to bed early, so that 5 hours difference, I think, is going to mess with her.
She's going to need the first 3 days that I'm working just to adjust, and hopefully by the time I'm done, then she'll be good to go. Yeah, I've had an amazing resilience to travel, and okay, it's 9 hours different. Go to sleep, wake up the next day. All right, we're good. I'm on that schedule now. It really has not bothered me.
Yeah, I can kind of do the same, but I don't sleep much anyway, so I just kind of adjust the few hours in what I sleep in, like, within their time of where I am, so it works out okay.
Yeah, I basically don't sleep well on planes, so on a 15-hour flight, I might get 2 to 3 hours, so when I land, I just make myself stay up until bedtime, and that's it. Adjusted. Done.
I wondered if you got to sleep much on planes. I'm not good at things like that either.
No, I catch little fitful cat naps. You know when you sleep, but you're always kind of aware you're asleep? Like, you kind of have a sense of the passage of time and what's going on around you. That's about the best I can do. I'm never just out cold.
I did the same thing back on the trip from Utah. I mean, we drove straight through, and it was like 20 hours back from where we were, and yeah, I was like that. I never really actually went to sleep, like what I would call a good sleep. It was just kind of like that where, yes, my eyes are closed, I'm getting some sort of rest, but I'm aware of what's going on. And then, we're flying in that giant toter home, and I did occasionally go airborne while trying to sleep. My wife is laughing about that.
Nice.
So.
Well, the infamous Windy Bagel Mark I that we only got to make one trip in, that was Hannah's experience. She was actually in the back sleeping, and there's 10, 12 feet of motorhome behind the rear axle.
And that makes for a bunch of whip.
And we came outside of, I can't remember what town we were outside of in Tennessee when we were going through, but there was a big whoop in the road, but it's one of those ones you can't see until you're in it, and you're like, oh, I probably should have slowed down for that. It was on an exit ramp, and she was sleeping in the back, and she comes up front, and her eyes are just like the size of dinner plates, and she's like, I woke up and I was 2 feet in the air.
The same thing kind of happened to Cody when we were on the way back. It was just before we got to Colorado, like the Denver area. Well, Grand Junction is where we were coming into. So before we crossed the mountains, but so Sam and I were up late and we were driving, trying to get there that night. And the headlights on that toter home were absolutely horrible. I showed that in one of the videos that I did. But for on the way back, we just went to like Walmart and bought some stupid cheap short light bars, like the little, they're like giant cubes or small light bars is what they were.
Yeah.
So we couldn't see the road real well either. Well, the motorhome, the toter, was in limp mode anyway, so there's this giant downhill and we saw a big uphill coming. So we knew we had to get all the speed we could. So we just stuck our foot to the floor. Sam was driving, and the thing got up to about 88, 89 mile an hour, which in that thing is just flying.
Oh, yeah.
And Cody was in the back sleeping, and we hit a big dip, and he says it felt like we were in a constant wreck for about a mile. It's like, yeah, that's how I describe it too.
Well, you're basically in a constant wreck for like 1,700 miles, but I'm not going to split hairs here.
Yeah, there is a big dip. Like, it was a big one. But anyway.
I got all excited when you said you hit 88 miles an hour. I thought maybe, time travel happened.
Time travel? Yeah, I'd time travel back to home instead of finishing that drive. Ugh. That's a long drive. That's just what it is.
That is ugly. Well,
so...
Well, I was going to ask how the garage thing's coming along there. You've got it fully enclosed and heated and carpeted in sections and pinball machines and all that kind of stuff in there? Or?
Nearly. It is fully enclosed. I got all the insulation up, and I have like a big torpedo heater in it right now. That's what I'm using to keep it warm when I go to work out there. And it's actually not bad. I think it probably kicks on every 20 or 30 minutes because I got it insulated pretty well.
Yeah.
It's R30 in the ceiling and 15 in the walls, I think is what it is. So.
Nice.
Yep. I still have to finish up some little electrical. Basically, I just don't have some outlets wired. I was just more concerned with getting it closed in and getting it usable was kind of my plan.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to shoot a video and we'll throw that in here like now. Barn, shop, whatever, update. Nothing really has changed on the outside except I've got a light out here because I come out at night. Insulation in the ceiling, all in the walls. Lights are up. And the Chevy's in here, up on stands. That's kind of normal for Chevys. Normally, that's where the Acre Shaker parks. But, I got a project going on right now. Not mine. Totally not mine. Yeah, there's Sunday Drive Razor. It's working as a tool cart right now. It's serving double duties. The Batmobile Old Wing right there. But, yeah, I got my lights up. No more wiring done, as I would hoped, but that is my current heater right there. And it warms it up in a hurry. So, works well. Nice and warm in here right now, even though, well, this morning it was 11, 12 degrees, something like that. And it ran for, I don't know, 5 minutes. Warmed it up, and then now it just kicks off and on every 20 to 30, something like that. But about that. So it's really not bad. It's a pretty well insulated building. Here soon I'll get sheeting put up here. And I don't know. I still don't know if I'm going to do drywall up here or if I'm going to do OSB. Walls are definitely going to be OSB. That way I can hang things anywhere I want. So, foam around the windows. I just haven't cleaned that one up. The rest have it too. They're cleaned up already though. Stops any air leaks. Same around the door. It's got spray foam around it there. So I have to adjust the top of the garage door. It's got to go out that way, that top panel. There's a little bit of an air gap. Not bad. But it's coming along. It's a usable building right now, and that's kind of what I was going for. Once I get sheeting up, then I can start bringing my shelves in here.
I have that little compressor. I have another big compressor that will go over there. That'll be there. And then run air lines through the shop and start doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's to the point it's usable now. So bonus. That's all I got. See you guys.
And we're back from the video now, so you guys got to see what it looks like. It's nothing special, just insulation, 24 by 36 building. So, but it's nice. I can just store stuff and gives me a place to work.
It is your own place, exactly.
It is. That's the best part. I'm gonna put just OSB on the walls so I can hang anything anywhere I want, instead of having to deal with ply or drywall and having to hit a stud.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not talking about heavy stuff, but even like if you want to hang a rake or something on the wall, eventually it's just going to pull out if you put it in drywall.
Yeah. No, that's a good plan.
So
no finishing, no taping, no mudding. I mean, that's all a win in my book.
I've thought about doing the ceiling in OSB too. I'm not sure if I want to, and then just like run a bead of caulk around all of it, and that's that. Because I'm going to paint it white anyway. I mean...
Yeah, true.
So... I don't know. We'll see. I might do the ceiling in drywall. I might. My dad was like, well, at least drywall's a fire barrier. I'm like, if the walls are OSB, what's the difference? It's just going to burn up the walls and then jump to the rafters. I mean, it's not really going to matter.
You could do the ceiling in barn steel.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
Already painted. It's a fire barrier, and it look kind of cool.
Yeah, Cody did his whole inside in barn steel, both the walls and the ceiling. The problem with barn steel, and especially doing it on all the walls, is when you hammer in there on metal or something, it rings pretty bad normally.
I was thinking just the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do your walls in
that
OSB
done.
like
That's
you're
not
talking
bad.
about, and the ceiling, just do that. It's already painted white, you're done.
Yeah, I might do that. That does make it easy, and I can still hang my lights from it. I don't have to hit a stud, because lights don't really weigh anything.
Yeah, some of those little peanut screws, and you're done.
Yeah. I got 10 LED, like 48-inch lights in there right now.
Nice.
It's okay right now, but also it's still like brown from all the insulation. So I'm going to see what it's like once I get white whatever covering up there. And then I'll know if I need to add a couple more lights like over the bench or whatever when I build it.
Got a nice white covering all over the ground up here.
We don't have anything. It's been kind of spitting snow a little bit, but that's it.
You can have
Nothing
ours.
sticking. No, I'm good.
Well, I'm glad things are moving along there.
Yeah.
Not much is moving along on the UTV front. I mean, it's that lull. We're basically in the heart of awards and banquet season, and
Yeah, people are prepping their machines, and that's really all that's going on. A lot of people have them torn down right now.
yeah. Although the
But
schedules
really-
have all been released for pretty much every series now, so at least
Yeah, pretty much.
at least dates, if not locations.
And really, what IXCR is the first one, and they're that last, well, February 29th. There is a 29th this year. So really, we're not that far away from it. What are we? About 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah,
5?
it's not that far at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
February 29th. We're already to the 19th, so
Yeah.
sheesh. Man, that is close.
Yeah. I mean, basically, you're running up on the time when you better get all your parts ordered and still have time to really put them on. Except for the guys at Last Minute Motorsports.
Yes, well,
They wait.
their name says it all.
Yes, it does. Man, it's IXCR's running the Badlands straight away. I mean, they always do. So that's kind of to be expected. They do that because it's a lot of sand there. And really, no matter what the weather does, they can pretty much run.
And they can get the UTVs out right out the gate.
Right.
Which is
Whereas
nice.
pretty much all the other series have to wait at least a round or so
Yeah,
to let the ground firm up because the UTVs are just really hard on the ground.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What's your thought on it, Doug? Do you think it's the horsepower that they put down, or do you think it's the weight that they are?
I think it's the
Or-
driving style.
Do you?
It's sorry, grabbing a junk of or I can't even talk. Grabbing a sip of water. Words
That's
are
fine.
hard for me.
That's fine.
It's definitely it's the horsepower and the weight. I mean, they don't weigh that much, but when you look at the horsepower to weight and they're four-wheel drive, I mean, you got a dirt bike. They make a fair amount of power for their weight, but you got one skinny tire. I mean, on a UTV, you're running full lock.
Right.
Unless you're running, Visco lock, and then you got 3-wheel drive. But we won't get into that whole debate. So you're putting 160, 170, 180 horsepower to the ground and 4 tires, and you're at a race pace, and you're just chewing. You're chewing to move the heavier machine. It takes a little bit more to get it going because of the weight, and it's just. There's just so much going on there with 4 wheels scrabbling for traction as hard as they can.
Yeah.
You're flinging turf. I mean, you watch a quad or a dirt bike, they move some turf around. You watch a UTV, and it's just rooster tails of turf.
Yeah, they're just digging holes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even seen it just driving around at reasonable pace speeds and stuff like that. The Razors and even the X3s are bad about it because they have so much power, but the front tires will sling so much dirt and mud back it'll coat the inside of the wheels, and I'll just have grass and everything stuffed up in there. And
yeah. So
So
I think it's a function of the weight and the horsepower. They're heavier, so they need more horsepower, but then that translates into just digging and digging and digging, especially early in the spring. I mean, the ground is soft. You're kind of dealing with the snow melt, and it's not warm enough for everything to evaporate and dry out. And so now you've got really soft ground and a really hard machine on it. It is tough to race them early in the year. Well, this past year, I mean, shoot, it didn't dry out until June. We couldn't do Sunday Drive until, when was the first filming? It was sometime in June, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was it June or July that we actually got it?
Might have been into July. I can't even remember, but it was months after we wanted to start because we knew we had to keep the track together. That was our only choice if we were going to have a prayer of doing it, so we had to wait.
Right. Because really, I wanted to get started in like late April, early May.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't get any weather.
No, it was bad.
So
I talked to Andy Bridgewater, the owner of MWXC, and he said this was basically hands down the hardest year they've ever had.
Yeah.
Well, 2019. I mean, we're in 2020 now, but he said 2019 was just. He's like, we just couldn't catch a break weather-wise until the season was, 2/3 over.
Right. It was just bad. I mean, and the problem is it destroys tracks, so then it adds to the prep time and everything else to get it ready. It adds to the time that it takes them to clean it up after the fact, because they do have to go back and kind of patch things up.
Yep.
They can't just leave the landowners, stuff destroyed.
And it's hard on machines. People get stuck, so now the races take longer because there's an hour cleanup after the race where it should have only been 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, now you're getting behind, and you start doing that with all of the different, AM bikes and, PM bikes and Pee-wees and youth and all the other stuff. And it turns into a really, really long weekend where you're just slugging it out trying to survive.
And the bikes aren't bad to pull out. I mean, I did a couple of years of track sweeping there. The bikes aren't horrible to pull out because normally if they don't really break a whole lot.
No.
I mean, they just, like, they might break a chain or the motor gives out or something like that, but you never see them with a wheel ripped off or anything. And typically what we do is we just have a long tow strap, we hook it to their foot peg, and we provide the power to drag them out, is all it is. Like,
Yeah.
we're the engine, they're just on the end of the hook, and they're light comparative to the quads that we're running and stuff like that. The four-wheelers, every so often you see one with a busted wheel or whatever, but they're pretty light, so normally we just tied them up like to our utility racks pretty tight, so it pulled the front end up pretty good, had them sit towards the back of the machine, and same as the bikes, we'd provide the power to get them out. But then you get to the side-by-sides, you see a fair amount of wheels ripped off, and when they do go down, they're heavy, and they're heavier than anything else out there, or as much, if you got a side-by-side to pull them out with. So it's just takes forever to get the track cleaned up of machines after the fact.
Yeah. So it is hard to have an early season. I know some people get upset about the fact that, the first few rounds get skipped, but there's kind of no way around it. I mean,
Right. Yeah, unless you had a dedicated track that was open, aka short course.
yeah,
I mean, that's about it.
that's going to be
So,
happening.
yep, it's coming. Wagglers is doing it. They even added a few rounds. They started out with 5, and a lot of people said, "Hey, it's kind of 5 is kind of sparse. Can you add a couple more?" And I think they went up to 8, 7 or 8, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, they
I don't
were
have their
worried
schedule
about
in front
stepping
of
on
me.
local series, and honestly, they're busy. I mean, they only had limited time too, but I think their main concern was not stepping all over other series, where this is a brand new thing for them, and they weren't sure who would win in a head-to-head if they're scheduled on top of a XC race. Are they even going to get numbers? Is it worth their time to basically schedule the park to be empty, that track to be empty, and then have it literally be empty the day of?
Right. So, I mean, I understand why they're tentative and all that. So, is what it is.
But I'm looking here at the schedules, and March 21st is going to be a busy day. You've got Extreme, Crossroads, and AXCC all on top of each other.
Yep. Yeah, that's a busy one.
It's just how it worked out, but just kind of leafing through all the different schedules here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just how things fall sometimes. I mean, we've talked about it before. There's lots of race series here in the area in the Midwest, and there's only so many free weekends.
Yeah. Well, and you're
And-
trying to coordinate with the landowner. They've got things going on as well, and a lot of these landowners are still farming, maybe not the land you're racing on, but land adjacent to it. And they're
Or
using
parking
they're
area
using
or
that
something
land for
like that.
parking. Yeah, exactly. So they, you're basically trying to not interfere with their livelihood. So you're kind of at their mercy.
Right. So, the rounds that are in like that April, May, and June, and July, kind of into there, I mean, they almost need to be non-farming ones, or it's one where the landowner is okay with running a winter crop or a beans late or something like that.
Yeah.
So, or I mean, if it's late there, I've seen them where they harvest the corn early and just pull the corn early, but just the landowner has to be on board with all that. So, now the long and short of it all is there's lots of places to race. Schedules are out, so get your calendars out. Start marking up the ones you can hit and the series you want to call your home series for the year. There's lots of good ones out there, like Doug mentioned: Crossroads, Extremes, MWXC, IXCR, AXCC. AXCC is kind of a national one where you're going to have to travel a little bit, but
Yeah.
and if you want to do short course stuff, Wagglers. I kind of wonder about AXCC because they are going to, is it ERX Park? Is that the one that they're?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to be on the short course side at all, or if that park has woods and they're going to strictly run off the short course and not be on it.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that myself, honestly.
Because that was a stop for Lucas Oil Midwest short course when they were still a functioning body or a series, but they have since folded up. So I know that probably opened the schedule up to where AXCC could go up there. Rumor is also that I think it's called Grassroots Racing, is a series that picked up basically all the rounds that Lucas Midwest Short Course was doing, and they're doing them. It's a totally different business, but basically they just want to pick up everything and keep it going.
Sure.
So I haven't done any research on them yet. I would like to, because I would like to go up there to some of their events and maybe run it, but I wouldn't run a Lucas because their rules were far too strict. I understand why they had them,
Yeah.
but it was down to like material you could use, thickness, opening sizes, and tech was strict.
Yeah. Definitely was. Like you said, they've got to cover their rears. They got to make the lawyers happy because they have so much visibility.
Yeah.
They own the stadium the Colts play in, so they've got a lot of skin in the
They
game.
got a lot to lose if something goes wrong.
Yes, they do. Just looking at the AXCC schedule, yeah, they are pretty spread out. Oklahoma.
What is it?
They're-
Oklahoma first, Texas second.
Yep. Then Tennessee, Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio, and then round 7 has not been announced yet, but that's a pretty good spread.
Yeah, it's a round. As always, I'm looking forward to Heartland Challenge. That's one that I like going to.
Yeah.
I may see about teaming up with Steve Mueller again this year.
Ooh.
We talked about it
Recreate
last
your
year,
success.
but we didn't have success that
Oh, that's
first year.
right.
We made it like a half mile, and the thing broke. And I wasn't driving.
You were present. It was enough.
So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's one I'm always looking forward to. I've never made it to a Badlands race. Everybody that goes there says they hate the Badlands race. I don't plan on racing that one, but they all just say it's abusive.
I could see that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of the rundown. Pick your series, get set up for it and get going, I guess. It's like we said, time's running short. Pretty much all these are starting around the first couple weeks of March. I mean,
Yeah, MWXC, they've shortened their schedule. They're only running 10 rounds this year, but their first one is March 7th.
yep.
And then like we said, March 21st is busy for a lot of them. IXCR, February 29th.
Yep.
And, so,
Extreme is March 22nd is their round one, so they're a little later, but
yeah.
they kind of have more in the summer months where a lot of them spread them out and get more like into November and October
Yeah.
to have them. But, that's fine. One way or the other. It doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I mean, we're not far off from race season. Better start getting your stuff back together.
One interesting move I thought was Crossroads is doing their team race on November 14th and 15th. It's the last thing on their schedule.
Which is odd. Doug and I were talking about it prior to starting to film this, and I wonder if it's because they're thinking, especially in a side-by-side or something like that, because you share all the same machine at that point, people are like, it's the end of the season. If it gets wrecked, it's not going to take me out of points for anything else because it's pretty much the last race of the season for a lot of series in the area anyway.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's their thought, but I really like how MWXC does theirs. They do it on Labor Day?
Labor Day weekend. Yep.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend. I always get Labor Day and Memorial Day mixed up, so that's why I asked. But they do it on Labor Day weekend, and the team races are basically all on that Monday. So
Yeah.
it makes it nice because you have a long race weekend. They do it then. You always know it's coming up then. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it definitely is. People really, really enjoy it. But,
So
yeah, I was just kind of curious about that one. It does make sense, like you said, from the standpoint of maybe they're trying to make sure that, it's last thing of the season, doesn't count for points, it's just for fun, so it doesn't matter if something happens. But that's really late in the season. I mean, people are exhausted by then. In fact, that's part of why MWXC shortened their schedule, because, by the round 12, when you were into November, people just stopped showing up.
right.
You know.
I mean, I don't think people get it who don't race so much that they just don't get by like August, September, something like that. Usually you're hitting your strides where you're just like, I'm just ready for it to be over with. I love racing, but I'm tired of the maintenance, the upkeep, the travel, the everything, and I just want a break. Now, as soon as the break comes, you're like, man, I wish it was race season again.
Yeah. Well, and most of these
But-
people have kids. I mean, you're into the school year no matter what, because you're racing into September, early October. But man, when you're dragging on close to Thanksgiving, that's tough to maintain school schedules and everything else. The weather turns crappy. I mean, it's just a really tough thing to do.
Yeah.
So putting a team race that late in the season, I thought was an interesting move. We'll see how that works out for them.
Yeah, as long as there's no water, it's not bad. You get into that late in the season with water, ooh, that can be cold.
Yeah. See, Extreme's running 10 rounds, but theirs is all compacted between March 21st and October 17th.
Yeah,
17th,
theirs
18th.
are like
So they've got them all
back
fairly
to back
tight
to back.
together, but it's nice because you're done before November. That's a nice schedule, actually.
Yeah, it is.
And then Midwest is basically the same thing. Their first round is March 7th, and their last one is October 17th and 18th. So they're right on top of each other, but
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I know Wagler's goes a little later, but also it's short course style, so you're not going to be in water
Yeah.
unless they got like a muddy spot on the track. Um, you know, the ground should hold it okay, so that's okay. So we'll just see how it goes.
You can groom a short course track. You can groom it between heats if you want. You can't really
Yeah.
do that with XC. You can get out there with a skidder and like fill in a giant hole so that it's at least
Yeah.
passable, but that's all you can do. You don't have time to groom 7 miles of track.
Right. So that's kind of all we really had planned to talk about, other than Doug Gets Trivia.
Oh, well, of course. Now, I'm going to have
So-
to admit, I have not caught episode 117 yet.
Yes.
So how did Cody do?
He actually didn't do bad. I think it was the best he's ever done.
He's a pretty
think
smart
he
guy,
got-
though. I mean, he's actually
He is.
got a kind of a broad range of knowledge.
Yeah. But he did pretty good. He got, I don't know, 3 or 4 right, something like that. I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head, but
Good as I ever
he did
do.
get. Yeah, well,
Although lately I've been on
think-
a streak.
yeah. I think my trivia's been slipping lately. I've been giving more normal trivia.
Well, that is the real issue. It's more stuff people might know and less stuff people don't care about.
I can go back to the totally obscure stuff if that's what we want.
I don't want any of this, so you do whatever you want. I'm just here for people's amusement.
Doug the punching bag.
Exactly.
All right, are you ready for your trivia?
I do believe so.
All right, question number 1. What is an albatross in golf? You know, like if you get a birdie or an eagle or something like that. What is an albatross in golf?
Okay, so bogey's 1 over, double bogey's 2 over, snowman's an 8. 4 over par?
3 under par.
Okay.
The birds are all under.
Oh, that's true.
So
They're all under. I was
a
going the wrong
birdie
way
is
there.
1 under, eagle is 2 under, albatross is 3 under.
I've never heard that term, and my father-in-law is a really avid golfer, so interesting.
It's very rare because you think about being able to get 3 under par. Most holes are a par 4, so you would have to get a hole in 1.
Yeah,
If it's a par 5, that's really your better chance, and you're shooting a 2 on a par 5. Typically, par 5s are very long holes, so you would have to drive really well and have a really good second shot that you kind of get lucky that it goes in.
yeah.
There's Chad's golfing tutorial for the day.
Hit it towards the hole.
Hit the little ball towards the little hole. Play fetch with yourself.
Sounds easy.
All right, question number 2. Sodium hydroxide is more commonly known as what?
Is that lye?
Yes, it is. Also known as caustic soda, but yes, lye or caustic soda.
It's great sprinkled on your cereal.
Sure it
Gives you that
isn't.
extra tangy, fizzy stuff.
This burns.
Do not do that, kids who are listening.
No. All right, question number 3. In what year was the American Red Cross founded?
1887.
You're close. 1881.
Okay. I knew it was in
You
the
weren't far
1880
off.
somethings. I just couldn't remember what year it was.
That's not bad.
Not close enough
All right.
for an internet point.
No, not quite close enough. If you were like a year off, I would have given it to you.
Crud. Well, a 7's like
All
a
right.
1. It's just got a little extra whoop-de-doo on it.
Yeah, sure. You and math not getting along. Question number 4. What is the capital of the state of Mississippi?
I'll know it when I hear it, but I can't think of it.
This is one of those, like, I know most of the state capitals.
Is it Sardis?
Probably.
It's not Sardis, is it?
No.
Okay.
It is Jackson.
Yep. I knew it as soon as I had it.
Yeah.
I guess not. I've heard of Jackson. I just didn't realize it was the capital. I thought it was just another one of
Oh.
those big cities. Like, Chicago's not the capital of Illinois. It's just the one you hear of all the time. I thought Jackson
Right.
was kind of the same way.
That's because where all the corruption is.
Yes.
Chicago, not Jackson.
Could be either. I don't know.
We definitely know Chicago.
Trivia for you. What's the capital of Illinois?
It's not Springfield, is it?
It is Springfield.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know there's like a Springfield in every, like in the first, in all the colony states plus the Midwest states, there's a Springfield in every one of them.
I'm pretty sure that but all the states actually have the same city names. They just jumble them up because there's a Miami, Indiana. I mean,
Yeah. There's a Peru, Indiana.
yeah.
There's Mexico.
I think that all the states, they have like a default set of cities that they have to use. And some are famous, some are not. And then you get the special ones. They're like, okay, after you use these up, then you can start getting creative with the names. And so we end up with,
You can pick your own.
we end up with the Santa Claus, Indiana for reasons like that. But
Yeah.
or French Lick.
That actually wasn't named Santa Claus, Indiana originally?
Yeah.
It was, I forget what the name was, but it was really close to another town that had the same name. Like, geographically, they weren't really close, but in Indiana, there was another town that had nearly the same name. They were spelled nearly the same, minus one letter, and everything. So, for them to get a post office, they had to change the name of the town, so they did, so they picked Santa Claus.
I mean, fair enough. If you're going to be forced to rename, why not?
It's worked well for them, actually.
Yes, it has.
Alright, what are we on? Question number 5. What year was a Pioneer 10 space probe launched into space?
Ooh.
Space.
Again, I don't know. 1974.
72.
Ooh, it was earlier than I thought.
1972.
Man, so it was like right at the tail end of the Apollo program.
Yep. I'll give you half an internet point for that one. How's that? Because you
Sweet.
were close.
It's in the ballpark.
Oh, my wife's telling me it was called Santa Fe, Indiana. Santa Claus was.
See, Santa Fe. See, I'm telling you, we all have the same city names.
Yeah. So I don't remember what the town was that it was like nearly named the same as, but anyway, that doesn't matter. All right, question number 6. In which Die Hard film does Samuel L. Jackson co-star in?
I'm gonna have to admit to really only ever having seen Die Hard 1, and then I skipped.
What?
And then I skipped all the way to what are the Die Hard with a Vengeance, like the ones where he's an old man but he's still John McClane, like the ones that came out in the past 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, and then they started getting more unrealistic. I don't remember the names of them, but I've only watched like 1 or 2 of them where like he takes down a helicopter with a car.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
I did it.
I don't know
did
if
it in
you've
that video
seen that
game
one.
Just Cause.
Yeah. But in one of the movies, he jumps a car into the air and it spirals and does a barrel roll and hits the helicopter and takes it out.
Perfect. Yeah. I like the. Have you seen that movie Red? That Bruce Willis is
Yep.
in, where his car gets hit and spun, and he just steps out of the door as the car is spinning away from him, like
Because that
because
works.
physics doesn't apply.
Right.
Anyways,
I mean, I guess if he could step out of the car in the exact direction that he needed to and at the same velocity at which the car was moving,
yeah,
but that's not possible.
no, it's really not. Otherwise, racing
'Cause
would
I've
be
never
a lot
seen
more
a-
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, back to the question. We got sidetracked.
I'll just say Die Hard 3 because I really don't know.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. You even said you saw it.
Obviously, I wasn't paying attention.
That movie meant a ton to you, didn't it?
It really
Doug?
did. I think I'm gonna go back and watch it again tonight. Not.
Okay. I forgot what question we're on, so next question. What movie franchise action figures did Kenner star producing in the 1970s that led to its success and popularization of the 3.75-inch action figures? So the little ones,
Yeah.
Like, not the full, like, G.I. Joe sized as we remember as kids. Like the small
Yeah, the
ones.
little ones. Star Wars.
Yep. You are correct. And you knew that one.
I did.
You said it with confidence.
Yep. You know how they got to 3.75 inches?
Uh-uh.
So the executive of Kenner at the time was he's this big burly guy, with giant sausage fingers, basically. He's just one of these really big guys.
Okay.
They're talking about they've got a chance to get in with, well, they actually already had the rights. They'd worked it out with Lucasfilm to produce these action figures, and the chief designer's like, well, how big do you want these to be? He goes, there's all these decisions we have to make about size, and should they be this big or that big? And he looks at the CEO of the company, looks at him and says, I'm going to make an executive decision. Are you ready? He goes, yeah. And he said, he put his fist out like towards my face, and then all of a sudden, his thumb and his index finger come out, and he's like, I want him to be this big. And then, so he had he had a little ruler in his pocket, so he pulls it out, and he's like, okay, that's 3.75 inches, and that's how he decided to make him that size.
Good enough.
He was just one of these guys that's like, I don't care, just get the thing moving. It's
Right.
more important to get the product out than to wait around debating about how tall they should be.
Right.
But
Because it really doesn't matter in the scheme of it all.
so there you go.
All right. Next question, because I've lost count. What term is used for surfers and skaters who prefer to have their left foot on the back of the board?
Goofy footed, isn't it?
You are correct. It is goofy foot.
Boom.
See, look at that. Doug's a wealth of knowledge.
I may not know what the capital of Mississippi is, but neither do the people.
You
neither
know.
do the people that live there.
All right.
I've offended
Next
at least
question.
one
'Cause
listener there.
Yep. Next question, because I still don't know where we are. The first Starbucks outside of North America was opened in what country?
I'm gonna go China because I don't feel like Europe would be real keen on having Starbucks over there.
You're not terribly far off, but it was Japan.
Oh, okay. I figured it could have
So-
been in Europe because there's probably some there now, but I've got to imagine when the thing first started, they were, stupid Americans and their crap coffee.
It is crap.
It is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay, Japan.
Japan. All right. Last one, and I know it's the last one because it's the last one in the row of them. Yeah.
Good job.
Yay! What are the 4 southernmost states that border Nebraska?
The 4 what? Okay, what? The 4 southernmost states that border Nebraska.
Yep.
I don't want to think about geography. Trying to think what's underneath Nebraska. Colorado? Shoot, I don't know without looking at a map. My brain's gooshy.
Okay. You did get Colorado right, but Colorado, Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri.
Oh yeah, bunch of drive-through states. I was like,
Yep.
I was totally blanking on what was below it because I was like, well, there's nothing there. That's why. There's a blank spot in the map, and then there's Texas.
Yep. A lot of middle stuff there.
Yeah,
So, you didn't do bad. You got a few right.
not terrible. And some close enough that I don't feel like a total idiot.
Yep.
So before we
So-
part company here, how are adventures in international babysitting going?
It's okay. I mean, he's a good kid, but it's time consuming because everything you would normally just tell someone to do, like your kid or whatever, you kind of have to explain things more.
I can see that.
Because he doesn't understand the culture. My wife's yelling, he's not that time consuming.
He is.
But yeah, I mean, basically, and the language barrier doesn't help. I mean, he's not bad. He understands most of the things that we're saying, but when you use a slang or something like that, or I don't know, I think my wife or my daughter, one of them asked, he's got a cat too, and they asked if his cat was Fluffy. Well, like he didn't really understand what Fluffy was. I mean, that's probably not a word that they teach you in school, I would assume.
Yeah.
So
Or they have a different word that doesn't translate directly to the same thing.
right. so she's trying to like use other words to explain what fluffy is, and they're getting more obscure, like poofy, and you know, if he doesn't get fluffy, poofy sure probably isn't going to be one that he
You're
gets.
just making it worse.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
So,
You haven't caused an
but no,
international
it's going
incident
fine.
yet, so I'm proud of you.
Not yet.
I know there's time, but I'm proud of you so far.
Yeah, he went camping this weekend with the Boy Scouts. He does Boy Scout things back in France, and so we got him hooked up with the local troop thingy here. It was like 9 or 10 degrees or whatever, and he was camping in a tent.
That sounds unfun.
That doesn't sound any fun.
That sounds unfun. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said they don't get weather this cold there.
I'll bet they don't.
So.
Welcome to hell, kid. Sorry. Well, we do want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Of course, CW Motorsports, our title sponsor for the past year, and we're in the process of entertaining other sponsorships and talking to people and stuff. But for now, the lineup remains unchanged. We've got CW Motorsports on board. We've also got Watch Communications, who hosts this whole mess and also provides space for the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And you can find them on the web at watchcom.net. And if you need hosting, you can put in the code waste of time, all lowercase with no spaces when you check out, and you can host your very own special web page about strange, foofy cat facts. We've also got Spanx Fab on board, who makes just outstanding aftermarket parts for whatever machine you need to put them on. And we've also got TGM Off-Road, just great group of people that like to eat, and occasionally sometimes they get the machines out and ride them.
Yes.
You can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com, on Facebook /Eminent Racing, and on Instagram /Eminent Racing. You can find the video version of this podcast on YouTube. Just go to YouTube /Eminent Performance, and you'll find all of our goodies there, the podcast and anything else that we happen to put up there, like Sunday Drive or Tech Tips, or we've got a whole mess of stuff up there now.
Race videos.
Sometimes just random burnout videos.
That happens
Because
too.
reasons.
Yeah.
You can find the audio version on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, wherever you can find a podcast. We are likely to be there. Just look for Eminent Waste of Time or Eminent Performance. Either one will probably get you there. No matter what venue you find us on, though, if you could take the time to either subscribe or leave us a like or leave a comment, any of those things help us grow because they show the content providers that you are interested in what we're doing.
Yep.
Especially on the YouTubes. That's a pretty handy one. There's a little subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. Click that, and you can also click the bell,
Right
and then whenever
down.
we post new content, you'll get that as well.
Yep. All the fun things.
All the fun things and stuff.
Oh, do you want a stupid stuff with Chad?
Always.
Okay. So, this last week, I was over at my dad's at the shop, and there was a delivery that had come. It was Amazon, and they it was like a big fifth wheel to gooseneck conversion is what it was. So it comes on like a FedEx box truck was what it was. And these two, they were black guys, nice guys. They come, they get out, and the first thing one of them says when he gets out, he looks over at the big wood boiler that they have to heat the shop and heat houses and everything else, and it's a big one. He gets out and he goes, "Are you guys smoking a moose over there or something?" I go, "Smoking a moose? No." And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, like, have you ever seen a moose around here? I mean, he goes, "Well, what's that thing do?" And we started explaining it to him. He goes, "I've been seeing those driving all around." He goes, "I'm a city guy. I've never been outside the city." He goes, "I thought all y'all were just smoking deer and turkey and stuff for the winter."
Throwing the whole deer in there.
Yeah, he thought it was a moose in there.
That's awesome.
Because he said that was a big one. So he figured it had to be a moose.
No, not moose. Antelope. Do entire antelope in there.
I mean, I guess if you just never get out of the city.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the city,
Stuff
heat is
foreign to
like
you.
the thermostat. You just turn it on. You don't care where it comes from.
Right. Yeah, like the power is just there,
Yep.
So, yep. I was chuckling the whole time because I'm sitting there. I was like, dude, have you have you ever even like been outside? Because
That's awesome.
there's not like moose roadkill even that's out and about. There's every other animal, but
Dude,
not moose.
hitting a 180 to 200 pound deer is terrifying. Can you imagine hitting a 1,400 pound moose?
Oh yeah, and they stand tall. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You ever seen any of those car crashes? Basically, it takes. Sorry, camera just shook, y'all. So like you hit the moose and it takes the legs out from under the moose and the big heavy body just falls and crushes the car, and that's what normally hurts people.
Jeez. Kind of glad we don't have them around here. As many deer accidents as there are, that I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, that was worth it. That was worth waiting around for.
Yep.
And on that note, no matter what type of giant roadkill you've killed and are smoking, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Delicious.